Hello, I'm Mario Toneguzzi, and joining me today is Jeff Davison, who is one of the candidates running for Mayor of Calgary in the upcoming October election. Thanks for joining us today, Jeff.
Thanks very much for having me.
Okay, so Jeff, what would be your top priority if you're elected mayor?
I think there's really three things. Number one, roll back the blanket rezoning. Number two is really focusing on public safety. And number three is a bit interesting. It's really putting together a strategic plan for this council to get alignment and figure out what the next 4 years is going to look like. I've really found that issues aside, I think one of the biggest challenges we have right now is it feels like council stopped listening and it feels like it's a very we know best attitude. So one of our biggest challenges is actually rebuilding trust with the public. And to do that, we're going to have to build a plan over the next 4 years that respects what they've said, what we've heard from them, and how we work together with communities to move Calgary forward.
Okay, you mentioned the blanket rezoning. Can you talk a little bit about that and your thoughts about that and why you would repeal it?
Well, number one, I think we were led to believe that this was about affordability, this was about density. Look, you can't build housing to meet the demand of 70,000 people a year moving to Calgary, 4 units at a time, number one. Number two, I've always believed that the best thing, the greatest thing about Calgary is the diversity of our communities. I don't want our city to look the same. I appreciate being able to go to different areas for dinner and parks and all kinds of things that make those communities great. You don't get that by making every community look the same. And, from a development point of view, being led down the path of affordability, well, when the average row house is starting north of $700,000, that doesn't meet our affordability targets, right? So let's call it what this is. This is a parking problem that the city council has self-inflicted upon themselves. I've met with police officers who've told me they have seen fistfights between neighbors who are literally fighting each other over parking. And to me, the rules aren't even consistent when it comes to this blanket rezoning. So, number one, the public never asked for this. Nobody ran on this last time, but we are making a statement by running on it this time. And day one, we'll begin the repeal process.
Mhm. Let's talk about infrastructure from roads to water to transportation. First of all, thoughts on the state of the infrastructure in this city right now, and what's your game plan for that?
I think our infrastructure is deplorable. I think when the water stops working, when 40% of our roads have fallen into disrepair, when we're tearing up roads time and time again, as we've seen in places like Marda to meet the demand of development, we've got some problems. And part of the problem is that we've created too many silos, right? Our citizens, Calgarians, expect us to do better. And that's really what the plan is about. And so to me, it's about looking at a plan where we build the roads and put the pipes in the ground before we start putting up the buildings. And doing that means that we're working under local area plans to understand that community has come out to say, this is how we want to develop. And council's job is to say when and where that plan is in place, we're going to stick to that plan. And part of that is to advance the infrastructure to agree that's agreed within that plan. And so again, where you look at Martel Loop, where you've got another couple of 30-story towers that are potentially going in, or the rumor is they are going in, are we going to be tearing up roads again just so that we can have infrastructure? Having thoughtful discussion upfront about how we develop our communities, ensuring the roads and the pipes are in the ground before the buildings, that'll set us up for success, right? We can't have a situation where we continue to see citizens suing the city, where businesses are closing because of construction matters. Like this is not how you develop a city.
Mhm. What do you think of the Green Line and moving that forward?
I mean, I've always been a proponent of Green Line. I think, it's a necessity that we're trying to wrangle here in terms of cost. I think part of our challenge is that council has been talking about this for probably 15 years. And 15 years later, you've seen what the cost structure has done. The plan keeps changing, intervening, bodies change, lack of respect for partners have led us to where we are today. The really hard part I find with Green Line is number one, I don't feel like we understand the true costs, and I don't think we understand the true risks. And until we're inside of City Hall, it's hard to speculate as to where we're going to be at, even a year from now. I am concerned that with the significant tax increases we've seen over the last 3.5 years, and let's remember, like it or not, we've seen more tax increases in 3.5 years than Nenchi's entire 10, 11-year term. And so the problem we have is that we're not getting value for those tax dollars. And the challenge we have to think about is day one when Green Line starts, that's about a 44 to $48 million operating cost. And if we think to ourselves where the base budget is today, you have to think about every $18 million additional to that budget is a 1% property tax increase. So do the math on 44, to $48 million, right? That tax increase is then going to get embedded going forward. So we really have to get our costs in line. We have to be able to deliver the best possible transit service to Calgarians, but we've got to manage the risk and costs in a different way. And I don't believe that council has done that over the last 3.5 years.
Now, obviously, people are not happy with their taxes and the elevated taxes that they're paying these days. Would you pledge to hold the line on taxes going forward?
I am the only mayoral candidate to promise a freeze on taxes. And, to be clear, there's a lot of questions about this. You have so-called conservative councils running around saying this is impossible. Remember that I have the ability to say I've been on the inside and the outside. I know exactly how we're going to do this. We will freeze municipal taxes over the next 4 years. To do that, we're going to offset inflation and growth by growing our tax base. So ensuring that we build tax base and develop according to how we're going to build that tax base. Things like industrial land strategies will matter. All of those will matter in how we make up that income. But what we know more than anything right now is Calgarians are struggling. We know that costs for every household have gone up. And as a city, we've got to do better. Again, in a year where we have seen an 8.9% tax increase, I don't think any Calgarian would tell you they feel like there's an increased value to what they're getting for that money. The bigger challenge we have is, and this is also part of how we're going to manage a tax freeze, is dealing with our reserves and risk differently, right? So when you think about a year where we've had $220 million as a surplus in the first 6 months of this year, that's effectively a 12% property tax reduction. So even in a year where they've raised taxes 8.9%, doing nothing, they still would have been ahead by about 3.1%. So it tells me they don't have a lot of foresight going into budgeting. They're not thinking down the road. And for me, I really want to get back to this sort of longer term budget plan so that we can look at a 5 year plan and ensure that we're calculating accordingly to what our income levels are, to what our tax base needs to be. And in accordance, we're setting those budgets with how Calgarians expect their service delivery.
Let's talk about City Hall. A lot of people not happy with the bureaucracy there, the
Mm.
I guess lack of efficiencies, the cost of running City Hall, delays in things like building permits are taking a long time, developing. Um, First of all, your thoughts about the way City Hall operates administration-wise right now, and what would you do about it?
We've got some big challenges there. Number one, I think we need a total reset on corporate culture. I don't care if you're on city council, if you work with the fire department, or you're picking up the garbage. We are all here in service to Calgarians each and every day, right? And number one, that's the culture we're going to set, is getting back to we're here to serve Calgarians. Number two, I think there's some big changes that we need to make in terms of our executive leadership team. I think we need to start thinking about how the entire ELT team, the executive leadership team, reports to council. One of the roles I'm committed to creating is a role within the mayor's office called the Chief Accountability Officer. And so, before I had mentioned a little bit of what's our strategic plan over the next 4 years, that's the plan 4 years from now we're going to be judged on. That's the plan we're going to get reelected on. And that's the plan we need to be accountable to Calgarians with. And so putting a strategic plan together to say, this is what we're going to do to rebuild the foundation so we can continue to be a great city. We can continue to meet the demand of growth here. Let's face it, people move here for opportunity. And we've got to manage that growth differently. And it all starts with a different mindset within our administration team. There's always the questions about, is the tail wagging the dog out, downtown, or vice versa. To me, I think it all starts with having a plan and a reset of corporate culture, and that's how we're going to move forward.
Now, another big issue that seems to be growing by the day in this city is public safety,
Yeah.
crime. Whether it's the LRT stations or the LRT line itself, whether it's right downtown on, in the core of the city, on the streets and sidewalks, there's an issue here. First of all, what do you think about what's happening there, and what would you do about it?
In 3.5 years, I wouldn't say that anybody feels we're better off in terms of public safety. I think sort of the situation has continued to get tremendously worse than it was before. Number one, I think we have, again, a failure to build partnership with the province. When we think about public safety and social disorder going on, it's not a situation that we can just police our way out of. Number one, we've got to support our police, and we do need more officers. Calgary is a city that has one of the lowest officer to citizen ratios of any major North American city. We have to fix that. But number two, knowing what was going on downtown right now, we really need to be thoughtful about a provincial and federal partnership that addresses the mental health and addiction side of what's going on. And why I'm committed to building partnerships with other orders of government to say, look, first of all, we've got to come back to terms that we all have the same problem. We all want to see this problem get solved. And it's a problem, let's say, is facing every major city in North America. I think the difference where Calgary can sort of set the charge here is that, with an entrepreneurial spirit, with a get it done attitude, with brilliant people that move here, I think with the right plan and the right partnerships with the other orders of government, by bringing together our community resource groups that are out there on the front lines every day, I think Calgary has an opportunity to help lead North America out of this problem and showcase how we can do it differently. But it all starts by agreeing that we've got the same problem, and then respectfully saying what's each of our lane in making sure it happens. Because what you can't happen, or what can't continue to happen, is a council that continues to divide us from the province and the federal government using ideology. Picking fights with other orders of government on Twitter isn't creating partnership. It's not creating any value for citizens. To me, we've got to park the ideology and come to terms with we all have a major problem here, and we've got to get aligned to how we're going to solve it collectively.
Mhm. Bike lanes, controversial subject out there. Just wondering what your policy is towards bike lanes and if we're going to see more of them if you're a mayor.
So we're putting a policy out on this tomorrow, actually, and I'll tell you, we're putting a major hold on bike lanes, and we're going to revamp this program. I can't consciously say that we've done the right thing by creating infrastructure that is impeding small businesses from doing, their job to stay open. We have seen them underutilized, and so we're looking at a total relook at what this program is and when and where needed, where we've taken up road capacity that really needs to be back in place. We're going to revamp that program, but I can tell you right now that there won't be any new bike lanes going forward.
Tell me what you think and your opinion of the mayor's performance and city council's performance in the last few years.
Well, I mean, as a former city councilor, I guess, and somebody who's running against these people, I suppose it's a bit self-serving. But I think we live in a very interesting time where politics has gotten kind of grubby. And to me, I don't hate any of these people, right? I think that everybody who runs in politics wants to be there because they believe they're doing the right thing. I just have a different plan, right? And I have a plan that is all about the experience and the leadership that I think Calgary needs, having been on the inside and on the outside. I mean, running a provincial health charity for the last 3.5 years has been an eye-opening experience on how we use donor dollars to do everything. The money isn't always there when you need to serve patients. And so you've got to figure it out. And bringing that attitude to dealing with tax dollars now is it's something that I've learned that experience now and know how to apply it forward. I think, this council has really struggled with this we know best attitude. And despite the issues of climate emergencies and canceling arena deals and bag bylaws and blanket rezonings and all of the things that I think Calgarians would say have gone wrong, the bigger problem is they just never stop to build trust. And when you don't build trust with the public, when you stop listening to the public, what do you expect? Now we have a council that literally has the lowest approval rating of any council in our history. And when I go out and talk to people, that's not just the mayor. They're upset with council. And by way of that, you've seen how many city councilors are not seeking re-election. This is an important election for Calgary. We will have the largest turnover in council history, probably a minimum of 9 to 10 people. The vast majority of council will be new. This is where leadership and experience and vision are really going to set me apart from the other candidates. I mean, 25 years in energy and technology. I've made some films. I'm in healthcare. I've sat on city council. That's the type of experience we need. I'm the type of leader who brings people together, finds the common ground, and gets it done. That's the leadership we need. And ultimately, I have a vision of wanting to be the entrepreneurial city of the world. And I think when you couple those three things together, that's listening to Calgarians. And that's, I think, really what our city needs to move forward.
Last thing I'm going to ask you, and you maybe touched on that a little bit, but uh, why should people vote for you?
Because I think our job is simple, right? I've got one task, and that's to build an affordable, safe place of opportunity for everybody. Our job is to let people succeed. And, I am the one candidate that can tell you, I'm putting you first. Your success matters to me. And you get to define success. I'm not going to define that for you. But I want you to succeed and I want you to have a great life. And I want Calgary to continue to be the greatest city in the world. We've got some problems. We can fix those problems. And then let's just keep doing great things. And I think that's really that positive message is really what's going to set me apart.
Okay, thanks a lot, Jeff, for joining us today.
Thanks so much for having me.
Hey, that was Jeff Davison, who is one of the candidates running for mayor in Calgary in the upcoming municipal election. I'm Mario Toneguzzi. Thanks for joining us today.